How's it going, everybody? I'm Aaron, and this is Seek Media Productions giving you a game review. Now, I've been a long time player of the Pokemon series games, and from my initial playthroughs, I usually enjoyed the world for which, we get to play around with Pocket Monsters in general. But I have found myself to be a little bit disenfranchised or disenchanted, I guess, with the entire franchise in and of itself. Because I feel as though it's more repetitive as we go on. It's the same kind of basic storytelling and structure that we see in almost all the games. And I don't feel as though there's enough variation and variety within it. So that's why I was a little hesitant when I decided I was going to go ahead and pick up and play Pokemon Legends Arceus. Now, this was supposed to be a brand new and rendition within the world of Pokemon in and of itself, which would be a live or release role-playing variation on the original gameplay storyline. It's really not something that's particularly new within the gaming franchise. It has been done before with specific other titles, going forward. But in this particular adaptation, we were taking the role of a time traveler sent back into the wild past of what is called the Hisui region, which many would eventually, if you're a fan of the franchise, would understand would be the historic name to what would later be called the Sinnoh region. And you were transplanted from the present into the past by a mysterious force that wants you to figure out a particular issue which is plaguing the historic Hisui region at that present time. This, of course, has to deal with this concept of wild Pokemon becoming frenzied due to some type of immense energy field that was sparking all throughout the region. And become what is known as a Survey Corps member to try to figure out what was going on, why the Pokemon are trying to attack everybody, and to also take part in creating what would be known as the region's very first version of a Pokédex. Now, in this particular rendition, because of like mostly other Pokemon games in general, you take the place of a mute basic character, which is supposed to be the replacement of the actual player themselves. But luckily with this particular adaptation and with newer entries within the Pokemon series, this character can be customized in a way to better suit the unique needs of the player themselves, by changing the skin tone, the costume, etc. Which basically in this particular case helps you fit more within the world of Hisui region, or Jubilai Village is where you basically start out as and basically take on most of the storyline in and of itself. You're joined by other characters such as the rival / best friend figure of Akari, and of course, like almost all other Pokemon games, you have a professor figure, in this case Professor Livington, who basically charges you with the concept of figuring out and trying to research new Pokemon throughout the region in creating this particular old version of the Pokédex. You also meet other characters as well, characters that basically are the archetype of better known team members down the Pokemon line, i.e. the Diamond and Pearl clans, which if you're a fan of the series, you realize are the precursors between the Diamond and Pearl teams or Galaxy teams themselves. And then you also have other characters within those clans and throughout Germany, or in the world of Hisui, which takes the place of these, what would they call them, wardens of the Pokemon world, which are individuals who charge themselves of looking after Pokemon, not necessarily as Pokemon trainers, because the people of both the Diamond and Pearl clans and the wardens themselves are individuals who seek to find a balance with the creatures of the Pokemon world, i.e. not looking at them as just playing of monsters that be captured and controlled and told what to do, but are legitimately part of their own family unit and essential to the very necessity of life within the Pokemon world itself. Now, unfortunately for this particular rendition of the series in Pokemon Legend Arceus, it shares a very real and unfortunate issue that surrounds most of the series in general, i.e. a repetitive nature throughout the story structure and the very concepts that are introduced within each game in general. I.e., again, we're dealing with the same rival systems that was almost always present, the same startup between being told that you get this some little individual storyline that has to deal with legendary Pokemon running amok or causing or some type of internal issue between the people and the Pokemon themselves that has to revolve around you as the main character trying to solve why the world is out of balance, or whether or not you need to find some kind of MacGuffin arch type item to basically help soothe or calm the basic Pokemon, or capture in general, just like you would like any particular traditional Pokemon trainer in itself. But I feel as though probably one of the worst crimes that this game basically commits in and of itself is that it does not fully deliver on the basic concept of which it was supposed to be made from. I.e., this was supposed to put you into the footsteps of a natural observer of Pokemon life. And yes, even though you do have moments within this game where you are basically trying to research Pokemon and see what the heck they are doing in order to understand them better and record it within the Pokedex itself, I feel as though the methods for which you are doing it and how and what the game presents as in moments that you're supposed to be utilizing for research purposes doesn't quite live up to the standards, or at least the potential of what it could necessarily be. In my opinion, I feel as though if you were really trying to be specific about the particular gameplay itself and this element of being a natural observer, I should have been able to truly immerse myself within the world of Pokemon Arceus and seeing large roaming herds of Pokemon. Different Pokemon species basically be able to nurture their young, probably hunting, acting as if they are really living creatures within a vibrant and diverse ecosystem of world. Unfortunately, I just don't get that in this game. Now, going straight into the kind of aspects of what makes up Pokemon Legends Arceus' gameplay, you do have to realize that this is a Pokemon game, which means you are capturing and study and trying to observe Pokemon within the Pokemon world, or at least Hisui region and Jubilee Village in and of itself. There's still this same battle mechanics where you capture Pokemon, train them up, or at least in this case, really honestly leveling them up to specific levels in order to learn new and exciting new moves, and basically putting up against other Pokemon or other trainers and battle mechanics. Some of the unique or newer aspects of battle mechanics in this particular game is a new concept of both fast and strong style gameplay. In this case, it's really focusing on the concept of Pokemon taking certain moves and learning them in a way that would either utilize them in a very beefed up or powered up version of its normal attack status, which means it gains a little bit more attack power, or learning a move in order to utilize it quicker before the other Pokemon does, maybe sacrificing the concept of power for speed. And there's also the concept of certain moves that you can utilize, that, or at least almost all the moves of the Pokemon he's using within the particular gameplay itself may not be able to be used all the time. There is a bit of a cooldown moment or a moment within the gameplay itself where certain moves get used up and you just have to move on or switch it out for other moves that you might be able to use in place of the ones that you can't utilize no more. But I guess another unique concept of the gameplay is that your Pokemon isn't the only ones that can be harmed in this particular game. You yourself as the player can, if you're in the wrong area or you're detected by Pokemon, that they can utilize moves against you as well, which immediately will knock you out or make you stumble, and you have to basically watch out for that, because that could also count as a KO on yourself as well. Another unique aspect of Pokemon Legend Arceus is the concept of the frenzied or alpha-based Pokemon species, which are usually variations of Pokemon that exist within the Hisui region that are beefed up with a lot more power and leveled up with higher levels, or stature size. They are larger than scale than their regular basic counterparts that are attacking the region and the people of Hisui in themselves. These are exciting moments for the first couple of times you meet against them, but quickly dial down between repetitive nature in and of itself. A refreshing concept of it, when looking at the concept of frenzy Pokemon, would have to be some of the battle mechanics of the boss type characters that you meet throughout this gameplay, mostly in the form of what were supposed to be the Pokemon lords of the region, which uniquely have their own basic attack sequences and gameplay that revolves around utilizing special items that specifically are tailored towards those particular Pokemon, but technically doesn't have enough variation when it comes to actually employing them uniquely towards them that is different for each one. Also being able to utilize your Pokemon against them as a basic battle mechanic. Basically throughout the region of the Hisui and Jubilee Village are certain side missions that the player can come across that can be interesting in themselves. I found myself finding certain missions to be pretty cool and Easter eggs throughout the Pokemon franchise that for any particular big Pokemon fan will enjoy, but I feel as though it's just not nearly enough in and of themselves to warrant as many as you have to do, because it yet again this is one of the biggest aspects of the failure of this game is repetitive motions and story structure and gameplay. A lot of these missions are pretty much recycled variations of the very same ones that you already played before. Pokemon Legend Arceus is a very beautifully detailed game. It utilizes cel-shaded animation that you may have seen in the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and various other games that does work within the world of Pokemon itself. This is an open world game, so yes, you can travel to different areas throughout the region of Hisui, some of them more beautiful and breathtaking than others. But again, because of the concept of the transversal system and the regular variations that you might come across throughout the Pokemon franchise, I don't feel as though there's enough variation to basically justify just how empty this particular variation of Pokemon can truly be. Piggybacking off of the concept of transversal in Pokemon Legend Arceus, there are select Pokemon that you will encounter throughout the series, without this particular game, that can be made into contracts that you can utilize as transversal, either through riding them on their back, or riding in the air, or swimming in the water. And for the most part, those are pretty cool aesthetics that help you immerse yourself within the Pokemon Legend Arceus itself. But is very downplayed by the concept that why couldn't you just use that all of your Pokemon that you captured and trained in those same exact steps. You are really only relegated to the Pokemon that you encounter specifically for story structures in that particular context. And that in itself is very disappointing. In total, Pokemon Legend Arceus is a game full of very neat and interesting concepts that unfortunately just aren't executed in the way that they honestly should have. This game could have used a little bit more time to be gestated within the oven, and hopefully would have came out a little bit better, but as it is right now, I have to give Pokemon Legend Arceus just an okay rating. And honestly, I don't know if I want to pick up another Pokemon game after this. If they take this criticism to heart, maybe we might see a little bit better renditions going down the line, but as it is, this is where we're at. Well, that's it for my review on Pokemon Legend Arceus. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit our bell down there for notifications. We want to hear from you. Have you played Pokemon Legends Arceus? And if so, we want to know, are you a fan of the Pokemon series? Also, please be on the lookout for our other videos that we have on social media, because we have reviews out there that we probably just don't have enough time to get to post as a full-fledged video, but we still have them here up for you, and you should check them out. That's it. I'm Aaron, and this has been Seeking Media Productions. See you later.